Hi, this is Adegoke Omotola, and I'm on with my friend from from the US, Jeff. So we're going to be speaking on the topic leadership and search engine optimization. Leadership and search engine optimization. Leadership Talk with Adegoke is on Apple Podcasts. It's also on Spotify as well. Now, for those who want to watch on YouTube, I want you to just subscribe to my YouTube channel, Leadership with Adegoke Omotola. Just click on the subscribe button, Leadership with Adegoke Omotola. We'll be talking about things like, Google Analytics, but not really in detail. But Jeff is going to be speaking on search engine optimization. So I want you to just, um, just trust that you're going to be learning awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Jeff, trust you well. How are you doing today?
Pretty good, pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. It's good to have you on Leadership Talk with Adegoke. I'm just so thankful. We'll be looking at leadership in the area of search engine optimization. How leaders can pivot, how leaders can add value, how leaders can show up even at a time like this and position themselves. Even for greater value. So, Jeff, who is Jeff? Introduce yourself, please.
Sweet, awesome. Yeah, I'm Jeff Pruta. I'm 23 years old. I currently run a business called Pro Marketing. We're an SEO agency based in San Diego, California. A little bit about my story. I actually recently graduated college about 2 years ago. And since graduating college, especially during this crazy time, basically throughout college, I was starting this other company. It was an iPhone app. It was called Fit. And basically, right when COVID-19 started and everything kind of got shaken up, I basically pivoted and started this company, Pro Marketing, pursuing a long-term side hobby of mine, and then basically just taking it full time, and the rest is history.
Wow, awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for stepping up. Now, I just want to ask you, Jeff, what do you know about leadership? What's your view about leadership?
Yeah, so my view about leadership, all throughout both my businesses. My first business was a team of five. And then this business, we have about 9 people right now. So I would say, part of that is really, I would say our leadership success right now is built through internal motivation. I think, especially in kind of the employees that we have right now, my goal is always to try and, figure out what can internally motivate them, because at the end of the day, I could do, a lot of really cool things, but, we need to have that fire, deep inside of them that keeps them going.
Wow, awesome. Now, I want you to speak on this area of search engine optimization. What's the relationship between leadership and search engine optimization?
Definitely. So, especially when it comes to search engine optimization, the way that I, typically describe search engine optimization or SEO, is it's basically the science behind ranking websites higher on Google search engine. So, I mean, with that being said, there's constantly all these different strategies that come into play. There's a first page, second page, and a third page on Google. So essentially, what you want to be is you want to be the thought leader in the space, and you want to reflect that entire vision on the client's company. You really want the client to, be that thought leader and have a lot of say, especially in their specific business, their specific industry. So it's really just creating strategies behind, getting their voice heard by a larger audience.
Wow,
So that's,
amazing,
mhm.
amazing. Now, Jeff, I want you to speak to uh, the strategies, that leaders can use, to ensure that they're really visible out there, because a lot of leaders, they got content, but they're not really visible. I mean, what do you think leaders can do? How can they position the brand,
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think it really kind of comes down to how you're managing your teams. I think leadership, as I talked about internal motivation before, I think a leader's job is to really portray that image into all of your employees' head and really show them, hey, this is the light at the end of the tunnel. This is where we need to go, and basically taking them there and helping them every step of the way. I think that's just incredibly important. Our team personally, I'm a certified project manager, so we use Agile project development and Scrum. Those are basically kind of the two ways that we, try to motivate people and try to keep people on task. So I would say, just making sure that we have a really solidified system in place to monitor and constantly improve. I think that's really, really important.
Okay. Awesome stuff. Now, Jeff, I'm into you know, also leadership, and customer service. For example, I have a course on Udemy,
Mhm.
and my courses are there, professional selling skills. I also have world-class customer service. I also have courses, on other platforms. Now, apart from that, I also have my books on Amazon, customer retention and experiential approach. I also have selling skills, selling in crisis. How can I position, those products? How can I, as a leader, how can I optimize it, on the search engine?
Yeah. So when it comes to optimizing on the search engine, there's many different strategies. I would say whenever most people hear the word SEO, the first thing that comes to their mind is keywords. And I
Yeah,
definitely still agree with that. I think, one of the SEO's jobs is to really determine, hey, what our keyword research strategy should be and how we want to implement that. In terms of Udemy, in terms of Google search engines, we really want to make sure that when it comes to keywords, that we're telling a consistent story that doesn't change. So we're constantly, using some of the keywords that we want to optimize for in our title, in our description, and throughout the piece of content. In that case, it would be video, just so that everything is basically telling a cohesive story, and nothing really is out of place.
now, when you say the keywords, do you mention the keywords in the video or?
Yeah. So keyword research, I would say, is one of the most important aspects when it comes to SEO. Essentially, what an SEO's job is let's kind of give the example of, let's say if your website is kind of a startup car blog. The big problem with the industry is a lot of startup car blogs, for example. Basically, the first blog that they'll create would be, hey, what are the best cars in 2021? But the problem is everyone that's creating a startup car blog or in the car blogging space is writing that exact same blog.
Okay.
So it's very highly competitive, although there is a lot of search traffic. But essentially, what my job is to find those search terms that have way less keyword difficulty that still have some of that volume. So they're less competitive, but they still get a good amount of search volume. That's essentially kind of the low hanging fruit, if you will.
Now, when it comes to leadership, I found out that, it's not really as when you try to optimize it, it's not really as popular you know, as some other topics. How do you now optimize, if you're a leadership expert, how do you now optimize and make sure that you're visible?
Yeah, I would say, definitely making sure that you're following a lot of the SEO best practice standards. I would say that's one thing that is just a lot of people kind of have this mixed feeling about SEO. They think, hey, it's this, it's this, it's this. I think SEO is a lot more simple than a lot of people think. SEO at its core is just really making sure that your story is consistent, making sure that you have user experience in mind. I
Yeah.
think that's just one thing that's really interesting about where the internet's moving. Is back in the day, there's all this SEO practices that people were using that used to work back in the day, but now it doesn't work anymore. Google's algorithm is now more advanced than ever, and it's constantly moving more towards user experience. So if you're creating content with that user experience in mind, making sure you're telling a consistent story, then Google's going to reward you.
Wow, wow. So you must be seen as an expert. How do you position yourself as an expert? Is it when you do a lot of content in that area or?
Yeah, so I would say positioning yourself as an expert, being kind of a thought leader in the space. That's definitely one of the objectives of any sort of brand out there. I would say just creating a lot of top of the funnel content for people to really, learn about SEO, learn about, search engine optimization, learn about yourself. I think that's definitely the best way to do it is just get more and more content out there.
Now, I mean, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Udemy, I'm on Facebook, I'm on quite a number of platforms. I'm on YouTube as well. You know, does it really make a difference on the number of platforms where you position yourself?
I know. I mean, I think that's really good. Casting your net wide as much as possible. I think that's definitely a huge plus.
Okay, okay. If you just joining us, I've been speaking with my good friend Jeff. Jeff is showing up. He's showing up from the United States of America, and we're speaking on the topic leadership, and search engine optimization. Leadership and search engine optimization, and he's been drawing some powerful nuggets. In the area of just making sure that as a leader you position yourself well. I want you, if you listening to this podcast, you can, also subscribe to my YouTube page, Leadership with Adegoke Omotela, and just click on the subscribe button. And for those who are also listening to this podcast, I have my courses on Udemy, professional selling skills, and also world-class customer service. Now, do you have you know do you have you written books or courses or in your field of search engine optimization?
No, that's actually one thing that is definitely in my head, though. I think, you mentioned Udemy. I think Udemy is such a great tool. That's actually how I ended up learning SEO myself.
Wow,
Through
amazing.
taking Udemy courses, and I think I definitely have a really bad habit whenever they do that flash sale to just go on Udemy and just buy a ton of courses. But I think, yeah, Udemy is definitely a really good gem for entrepreneurs to learn any new skill. I think, yeah, there's just so many really great teachers out there. Mhm.
Wow, amazing, amazing, amazing. So, on the flip side, Jeff, if you are a leader and you're not properly positioned with your SEO, what's the consequence?
I guess the consequence is just a direct impact on how many customers you have, how many people are visiting your website, all the metrics that completely point to um, a successful business. Really, I would say, yeah, the goal is really to be kind of the leader.
Wow, awesome, awesome, awesome. So, you shared quite a number of tips, on how to position yourself, and and but for those who are, like authors, like myself, I want you to speak to it again. How do you, in terms of how you position yourself, on the SEO properly? I mean, how they can get you, um, how you can get quite, the kind of visibility that is required, and
Hmm.
people,
Hmm.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I'd say definitely telling a consistent story. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but basically making sure that your title tags, your meta descriptions, your image alt tags, the content that you're actually releasing, is basically telling a consistent story. And what I mean by that is going after one keyword. So let's say if we're talking about leadership in a crisis situation, making sure that you're constantly incorporating that throughout your title, description, alt tags. That's what you're talking about in your main video. Just because if there's any element of that story that doesn't add up, that doesn't align perfectly, then that kind of confuses Google. That also confuses the watchers, listeners, and readers. So that's something that you want to make sure that everything is telling the same story.
Wow, awesome, 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 awesome. Now, I want you to speak on this area, the algorithm. Can you speak to that?
Hmm.
The
Yeah.
importance of the algorithm, yes.
Yeah, so I'll definitely say, when choosing an SEO, when choosing an SEO agency, you really want to make sure that you have someone in mind that is basically just kind of a student of the art of SEO, just because SEO is constantly evolving. Like I mentioned, what used to work back in the day doesn't work nowadays.
Yeah.
Um, on almost a week to week basis. You want to make sure that, your SEO is constantly, um, you know, using the newest and greatest, and staying up to par with everything that's going on.
Wow, amazing. Now, I think you've shared quite a bit. If you're just joining us, been speaking with Jeff. Jeff is, a specialist in the area of search engine optimization, and is showing up powerfully today. Speaking from the US, and it's such a beautiful time that we're having together, looking at leadership and search engine optimization. Now, how can a leader, monetize? What's the opportunity in terms of monetizing if your search engine, your SEO is right? What are the
Yeah.
opportunities?
Yeah, so I'd say definitely in terms of monetization, with any business, I think, what you really want to do is you want to position yourself as the thought leader. And if you're that leader in the space, then people listen to you. And if people listen to you, then, you can, sell your services, sell your consulting. So I think, there's definitely a plethora of ways. The way that I see it is SEO is not necessarily sort of a job. I see it as more kind of an art form, just because there's so many different strategies that come into play. There's so many different elements that a lot of people don't realize is that the SEO, the modern day SEO, is versed in technical writing, but also creative writing, but also knows how to fix broken pages, knows how to properly optimize websites on Wix, Squarespace, WordPress. So there's a plethora of different skills that come into play, and I think making them all unison in a perfect harmony. I think that's the real art form.
Wow, amazing, amazing. So if you want to learn SEO, um, Jeff is the man to talk to. Jeff is the man to talk to. Yes, Jeff. So how long will it take me to learn how to become an expert in SEO?
Um, yeah, so I mean, you could start with Udemy courses. But yeah, so a little bit about how I actually got started. So I started probably about 4 years ago. I used to work for a digital marketing agency, so I was doing firsthand full service SEO, and really kind of learning the ins and outs of the industry. And then when I started that company, as I mentioned in the beginning, I basically kind of put that, took a step back on that, and basically kind of just focused on that company. And then when COVID-19 hit, I decided to get really serious about SEO. Started taking another online course on Udemy. Really became pretty well versed. And basically, what I did was I used that, leveraged that into getting small contracts. Did some case studies, did some video testimonials, leveraged those to get even bigger contracts.
Wow, amazing.
Got the money from the bigger contracts and used that to buy better courses. And then kind of just went from there and just kept getting better and kept learning. And
Awesome, awesome. Jeff, you're the man. You're the man. You're the man for the job. It's such a privilege speaking with Jeff. I mean, showing up um, big time, and massive content, massive nuggets is being shared by Jeff. Once again, if you're just jumping in, my name is Adegoke Omotola, and Leadership Talk with Adegoke, and it's on Apple. It's also on Spotify, and we're adding value. And also, if you're on YouTube, please make sure you subscribe to my channel, Leadership Talk, Leadership with Adegoke Omotola. So now we're about to close this session. It's been powerful. I just want you to how can a business owner, just to do a recap, how can a business owner profit, from SEO even at a time like this? I know you shared some
Mhm.
things, but I just want,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. So business owners, when it comes to SEO, SEO is really kind of the foundation. Basically, the entire idea behind SEO is it builds your organic search traffic, which is traffic that's organically built to your website, meaning that's traffic that comes to your website permanently each and every month, consistently converts at really high rates. So if you really think about that for a second, that's exactly what you want for your business. There's all these different types of traffic. There's social media traffic. There's paid advertising traffic. But organic search traffic and traffic that comes directly from the internet is really, really high quality traffic. So business owners out there, search engine optimization is one of those things you want to do sooner than later.
Wow, awesome, awesome, awesome. Wow, amazing, amazing. So I just believe that, even for our listeners all over the world, they're going to be learning so much, and for those that are going to be watching the replay and listening, to the podcast, I trust that you get a lot of stuff. Um, I also want to let you know that Leadership Talk with Adegoke, I want you to go and listen to episode 16. That is Leadership and Listening, a very powerful podcast. Leadership and Listening, a very powerful podcast on Leadership Talk with Adegoke. So, on the final note, I just want to remind you that my courses, Professional Selling Skills, is on Udemy. I also have World Class Customer Service on Udemy, and my book, Customer Retention, Experiential Approach, is also on Amazon. And the Selling in Crisis is also on Amazon. So, Jeff, if they want to reach you, how can we reach you? What are your
Um,
social media handles? Yeah.
yeah. So I'm really active on LinkedIn. You can check me out at Jeff, JeffPeroutka. Also on my LinkedIn, I have, if you go into my info box, I have basically a calendar link. Feel free to sign up, say that you saw me on this podcast, and I'll be happy to jump on a phone call and give you a free 15-minute consultation.
Wow. Good. 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 So good speaking with Jeff on leadership and search engine optimization. So until next time, it's been a great day, a great time with Leadership Talk with Adegoke, and my guest today is Jeff. Jeff from the US. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me.
Bye. Yeah. Wow.